Welcome back to the Brave podcast, Doing Travel Differently. I'm Faye, founder of The Brave, and today's episode comes from one of my favourite places in the world, not because it's luxurious, not because it's famous, and not because it's filled with bucket list attractions. Quite the opposite, actually. It's a simple olive farmer's house in a tiny mountain village on the Greek Peloponnese. It's called the Juicy Olive, one of our Brave stays. And every time I visit, it teaches me something about slowing down, travelling differently, and perhaps needing a little less in order to experience a little more. Why would anyone choose a rustic village? People often ask me why I bought this particular property. Surely there are prettier houses, closer to the sea, closer to restaurants, closer to nightlife. Of course there are, but that was never the point. The Brave Stays has never been about luxury. It's about removing barriers to authentic travel. It's about helping people discover places they might otherwise never consider. And it's about proving that meaningful travel doesn't have to come with a luxury price tag. Sometimes the richest experiences come from the simplest of places. I want to break the myth about Greece. One thing that surprises almost everyone is this: you don't need to visit Greece in the summer months. In fact, I'd argue some of the most beautiful times to experience the Peloponnese are spring, autumn, or even winter. I visited in January, I visited in March, I visited in the summer, and every season has shown me something different. Blue skies, warm sunshine, peaceful archaeological sites, quiet beaches, mountain walks, coffee in village squares without another tourist in sight. The Peloponnese isn't simply a summer destination, it can be a year-round destination. And that's one of the principles upon which we've based the choosing of the locations of the Brave Stays, that they are accessible all year round. They are available all year round. There's a certain beauty in being off the beaten track. Calavia Theologou isn't somewhere people just stumble across. There's no souvenir shops, no cocktail bars, no beachfront promenade. There's no queue outside the local taverna because there isn't one. Some people might hear that and think there's not much to do, but I see absolutely the opposite. Within easy reach are UNESCO World Heritage Sites like Mistras, ancient Sparta, the Mani Peninsula, the beautiful beaches of Githio and the surrounding area, the hidden coves around Plitra and Elia, mountain villages, olive groves, wineries, historic monasteries, remarkable scenery. And the village offers peace. The surrounding region offers endless exploration. The house, as with all of the Brave Stays, tells a story. The Juicy Olive isn't a holiday rental pretending to be old. It really is old. It was once an olive farmer's house. The old barrels remain. The outbuildings still tell stories of agricultural life. The walls aren't perfectly straight. In fact, they're far from that, especially the rendering that I've done. There are cracks, there are signs of age, there are cats wandering through the village and making you their new best friend. There are insects, there's dust, because this isn't a museum, it's a living village, and to me, that's exactly its charm. We're preserving character, not replacing it. So let's slow down. One evening I sat outside on the terrace. There's no television, not a particularly good Wi-Fi signal. No traffic, no notifications, just stars, crickets, the gentle sound of goat's bells somewhere in the distance, perhaps a tractor making its way home, and that's about it. And it struck me how rarely we experience silence anymore. We spend so much of our lives surrounded by noise that we forget silence is restorative. Sometimes doing very little is exactly doing something incredibly important. Affordable in the Brave Stays context and in the Juicy Olive context doesn't mean inferior. One of the missions behind the Brave Stays has always been to challenge another misconception that responsible or authentic travel has to be expensive. The Juicy Olive starts from around €25 per night, around €160 for an entire week, and that's for the whole house that would sleep 6 people. Not because it's lacking, but because we believe experiences like this should be accessible. Ethical travel shouldn't become exclusive. It should become easier. Every time I visit, I try to improve something. I believe in progress rather than perfection. I paint a wall, I repair some rendering, I lay another section of flooring, replace an appliance, trim the vines, sweep the courtyard. Not to modernise it beyond recognition, but simply to make guests feel a little more comfortable whilst respecting the soul of the house. Progress, not perfection. And perhaps that's a philosophy that applies far beyond renovation. This house won't appeal to everyone, and that's perfectly okay. If your ideal holiday is 5-star luxury with an infinity pool, concierge service and nightlife on your doorstep, the Juicy Olive definitely isn't for you. But if your idea of luxury is time, peace, birdsong, history, great food, meaningful exploration, watching sunsets over the Mani Peninsula before returning to a quiet mountain village, then perhaps this little olive farmer's house is exactly what you've been searching for. Every time I leave the Juicy Olive, I notice something. I don't miss luxury. I don't miss convenience. I don't miss entertainment. I simply feel calmer. Perhaps that's what travel's supposed to do, not overwhelm us, restore us. Sometimes we don't need more, we simply need less. And perhaps that's one of the bravest ways we can choose to travel. If today's episode has inspired you to look beyond the obvious and discover a quieter side of Greece, I'd love to help you plan your journey. Whether it's staying at the Juicy Olive or exploring the extraordinary Peloponnese, the Brave Travels and the Brave Stays work together to create affordable, authentic and meaningful travel experiences. Please get in touch. I genuinely love to help you discover this remarkable part of the world. Until next time, travel thoughtfully, travel kindly, and let's continue doing travel differently.